Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Michael Pelletier, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're going to touch upon several African issues. The main one, obviously, is Mali. Mm-hmm. The French have intervened militarily in Mali 2 months ago. They're now in the very north of the country with troops mainly from Chad. What's your judgment on the French intervention and where we're at right now?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. It's good to be here. I think it's also good to look at how much things have moved forward in Mali over the past few months. So much has been done. Cities of Timbuktu, Gao, Kidal are under control now. There is still a lot to be done. We've said from the beginning, as have many others, that ultimately what we need to all focus on is a long-term solution for Mali, which includes re-democratizing the country. It includes finding a political solution so that you can have a credible government that will cover the whole country and be able to come up with solutions to some of these long-term challenges that Mali faces. So a lot has been done, and we very much salute the efforts of the French, the Chadians, and the other African countries that have been there, but we have not lost sight of the long-term goal and the long-term efforts that still remain.
Do you think the military campaign is in the last weeks because the objectives have been reached? Right. I mean, do you think we're nearing the end of military operations?
I think a lot of great steps forward have been taken. I think I've learned long ago not to try to guess what's going to happen in the future. There are still a lot of challenges out there. There are still a lot of security challenges out there. Certainly a lot has been done, but I think we all have to really remain vigilant in terms of ensuring enough stability and security so that we can move for the long-term solution.
So does that mean that French troops should remain for a while in Mali to make sure they're secure the cities that have been taken, but we see violence cropping up here and there?
I think, first of all, that's a question really for the French and for the Malians and the African forces that are there. I think the long-term solution militarily in terms of security efforts that everybody has spoken about, that the French have spoken about since they moved in, is that this should be an African solution to an African problem, that AFISMA, the African forces made up mostly of ECOWAS and the Chadians with the help of the AU, that those forces will be able to take more and more responsibility. There's a lot of discussion now, and I believe the UN Security Council has asked the Secretary General to look at propositions for how this could become a UN mission, which would bring with it certain advantages. Yeah, I think at the right time with the right planning, the idea that this could become a blue-hatted mission, it could become a UN mission, is an idea that we support as long as it's part of an organized and holistic move forward. Absolutely.
Do you have any news about two leaders of the Islamist groups that were allegedly killed, Abu Zaid and Mokhtar Belmokhtar?
We've seen those same reports. I believe that we're still all awaiting final confirmation of those news reports, but that studies and investigations continue, and we don't have final confirmation yet, as far as I know.
Right. The democracy issue, the U.S. has been adamant before the French intervention and since then that there needs to be the return of democracy in Mali. Right. You now have transitional authorities. Right. They've said they want election by the end of July. Right. We're already in March. The military operations are not over. You have to organize the elections. Yeah. It seems a little bit ambitious. Right. I mean, do you think maybe postponing the election would be wiser?
Right. Well, I think what's important to note is that it's the government of Mali and the national forces of Mali that chose this as their target date of July for elections. I think it's very important to have a date to work towards so that you can have these elections, because we really very firmly believe that it's only once you have a really credible national government that comes out of a democratic process of elections that the Malians will be able to really address those fundamental questions and tensions within the Malian society and the Malian nation that they need to address. And so I think the idea that Mali should hold elections as soon as possible is a good one, and the idea that they've fixed themselves a target is a good one, and we should all work them.
Even if they miss it.
Well, I think the idea is you don't set a target to try to miss it. You set a target to try to meet it. And so we should all encourage them and help them as much as we can to try to meet it, so that ultimately the important thing is credible elections as soon as possible in Mali for that long-term solution.
I mean, in addition to all the difficulties of organizing a nationwide election,
Yes.
the North is still in combat, if I should say. There is the issue of the military. There was a coup d'etat last year.
Right.
The U.S. condemned it, cut off its aid to Mali because of that. And the leader of this coup d'etat, the Captain Sanogo, still plays a major role in Mali. And so what do you do with that?
And I think we and many, many others have said for many months now since the coup that the military coup leaders, the military coup needs to withdraw from civil government decisions. They need to let the civilian government rule the civilian government. And we continue to insist that that is a very important step towards the redemocratization of the country and towards the reestablishment of a credible, democratic, popular government that represents the people of Mali. Those putschists need to pull themselves out of the political game.
If they say we're out of the political game, is it enough, or should there be more sanctions, maybe justice against them?
I think that's really a question mostly for the Malians to decide, and it's a question that depends on how things work out. It's a hypothetical situation that I can't really answer at this point in time.
But you want to see
We certainly
Sanogo
want
out
to
of the
see
limelight.
the coup leaders, not out of the limelight, but out of the political game.
Okay, neighboring country, Niger.
Yes.
President Obama sent a letter to Congress on February 22nd saying that there would be around 100 U.S. troops stationed in Niger. They're apparently going to be monitoring drones that will, well, we don't exactly know what they will do. Will it be intelligence? Would they be able to hit? What's the U.S. up to in Niger?
Well, I think what we're up to in the region as a whole is trying to find ways to support the regional effort to come to a solution in Mali, to the current crisis in Mali. In terms of drones, I really don't have any information on that. That's this ministry, the Department of Defense, that would be the right place to ask that question. But what I can tell you is politically and militarily, we across the U.S. government are working with all of the neighboring countries of Mali, working with Chad, ECOWAS, the AU, so that all of us can work together to try to contribute to finding a solution to the problem in Mali.
But you've signed an agreement, status of forces agreement,
Right.
with Niger. You have troops there, you have drones there. I mean,
We have status of forces agreements with a lot of countries. That's one of the standard things that we like
but
to
this
do.
one was recently signed, obviously for that reason. Is the U.S.
I don't know
willing?
that it's obvious that it was for that reason. But
Well, it seems like
Yeah.
that. Is the U.S. willing to stay permanently in the area?
we're not looking for a permanent base anywhere in the area. What our role is, and if you talk about our military role in the region, what our role is to be there to provide training, to provide support to the African militaries, to help them have the capacity that they need to take care of their own countries and solve their own problems and contribute to regional solutions to regional problems like Mali. We're not looking for any permanent bases.
Moving to Nigeria,
Yes.
the issue of the Boko Haram sect.
Yeah.
They've been fighting with the Nigerian government, attacking government places, churches. They've recently kidnapped a French family in northern Cameroon. Is this really a big worry for the United States?
Well, I mean, it's first and foremost, it's a worry for Nigeria. It's a worry for that region. You know, the groups that form what they call Boko Haram and the various people involved are clearly, you know, causing chaos, causing damage, causing violence in northern Nigeria, especially, which is something that northern Nigeria can't afford. I lived in northern Nigeria. I worked in Kaduna for years, and there are a lot of development needs there that Boko Haram is not helping anyone to realize. Kidnapping innocent families, kidnapping innocents, and getting them involved in the situation is not helping the solution either. So certainly, groups like Boko Haram are a danger, and we therefore have designated many of the leaders of the Boko Haram groups for sanctions. because it's a danger in the region.
Do they work together with Al Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb? The head of the U.S. Special Forces, Admiral William McRaven, just said so.
Right.
Do you have evidence of that?
I believe that's a question that's still very much being studied and being looked at, and which parts of which group coordinate with others or have relations with others. I think the studies of that are still ongoing, so I won't comment beyond that.
Last issue, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There's been turmoil, violence in the east of the country, and the U.S. has been trying to work behind the scenes to pacify the situation. There is a framework agreement that was signed whereby additional troops would be sent there. Do you believe that two of your key allies in the region, Rwanda and Uganda, that have been accused of helping a rebellion there, are now willing to side with you and help find a solution?
Well, I wouldn't say side with us. I would say side with the people of the Eastern Congo. The Eastern Congo region has suffered far too long from this instability, from this violence. Millions of people have died and have suffered because of this. And I think it's increasingly clear to all of us that this suffering and this violence has to stop. The framework agreement that was agreed to is certainly a positive step, which we salute. And one of the important parts of it is that all of the countries around have publicly pledged that they will not interfere with the sovereignty of DRC, that they will try to support a peaceful solution, and that the international community will support those efforts. I think that's an important commitment, and it's a step in the right direction, and one which we certainly support, and we certainly will hold people to.
Right, but the devil is in the details, obviously.
Implementation is the next step, which is very important. Signing an agreement, moving the situation forward is very, very important and very positive, but we have to continue. We can't lose sight of the problem. We can't lose focus of the problem. We have to look at implementing and really achieving peace in the sub-region.
Okay, Michael Pelletier, thank you very much for answering our questions. Thank you very much for watching this edition of The Interview here on France 24.